I was having an extraordinary run of bad luck. Lost a lot of ratings today playing chess, but then I came across this expert and I had a good game against this expert, so I have saved it to show you. King pawn opening, and I went with the French defence, and I went instantly with the French defence. I didn't hesitate. I did that regardless of what his opening was, because it's one of those that you can. And just preventing his knight from moving there with my bishop, and he's pushing. He's expanding because I'm contracting. He's signalling that he wants to push pawns forward. Now I can already break open here if I want to, so he's probably going to go and pass it. And then I can just annoying bishop here, and he decides he doesn't like it. In fact, I'm now eyeing this pawn here rather nicely twice, so he gets around that one pretty cleverly.
Check.
So I decide to just do this. Then clone. I decided to clone the knight, and there's a pawn there straight away. He does this, and I just castle. So I think I've got pretty much of the upper hand here in a big way. His queen comes down to here, so what you going to do? Well, I figure the thing to kill a queen with is a rook. And this was probably a very bad move, actually, because I think he could have pretty much trapped my queen here. Yes, he could. He could have won my queen here, at least in exchange for a rook, I think. Yeah, he should have been looking to somehow get his rook over. But anyway, I moved here. He took en passant, which I didn't mind because that enables me to get this rook out, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to start scaring his queen. This is offering the exchange. He doesn't want the exchange. So I gave it this.
Check. Check.
And he decided that he had nowhere to go. Yeah, that's right. He had nowhere to go. So he takes the rook, and I have won his queen. So now it should all be plain sailing. But of course, as you know, if you win an expert player's queen, don't expect it to be plain sailing whatsoever. So, you know, it's always a bit... Everything starts to go a bit fuzzy. You get into panic mode. Because now you know that your queen is going begging. You know, she's extra. So I've managed to shore up the fort here. And he's probably going to try and double these rooks, I reckoned. So I thought I'll attack that other one there. Sort of limits the ways that he can try and double them. And he puts one over there instead. So again, I'm not bothered about that. He's just basically trying to get his rooks onto the other opposite colour of square from my bishop. And now steals a pawn. It's a good move, this. It's a very good move. Nothing I can do, really. Sort of threaten the knight like that. Goes back to there. And I've got a pawn to steal there. And I'm also hoping to make the following move after that, which will win a rook. And he does allow it. So we get the rook. Well, he gives me that one. And then we go to there. And in fact, yeah, that was completely wrong. I should have taken... Well, I shouldn't have taken anything. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I took that. I think I was one step ahead in my thoughts. So I took his knight stupidly. And we ended up... Well, I ended up a knight up. Exactly one knight up, which... So now it's going to be very hard to try and win from having been a queen up. So I won his queen. He finally won my queen. So it's just how it goes. So now I had to do some... through the game, because the amount that had to go on here to get this all to work. Perhaps that would have been a better move. Anyway, I did this instead, and then this, and now I'm all on the white squares pretty much. Start attacking his pieces. And he's going to start eating pawns, which is really quite annoying. So I guard that other pawn, and he puts the rook there, and he does that. And this is all extremely tedious. Then I gave him the rook. But okay. Now it's a knight and a bishop against a rook. I still think I have the advantage.
Check.
But he does have a passed pawn there. So now this is where the game really came into sharp focus, because this is the chess game that we have given ourselves. Everything else was just prelude to this game here, which is almost like a brilliant chess puzzle where you have bishop and knight against rook and passed pawn. We both have a passed pawn there. So he comes over here, and obviously he's looking to fork my king and bishop. We can't allow that, so the king has to come down here instead, and now, as you see, his checking square is covered by my bishop. That's quite nifty, quite neat the way that happened. It comes to here, and I just retreat the bishop to here.
Check.
We're going to get that bishop locked onto the pawn. Bishops and pawns are very good for supporting each other. So we get it locked on there. They can't be shifted now unless he sacks the rook. There's nothing he can do about those two pieces now. But I've still got this niggling little pawn sitting here. So what's he going to do next? He's going to try and get rid of the knight. So, okay, the knight goes here. Now he doesn't have a check, really, does he? So he tries to do this. Kind of looks inevitable that it's going to sort of queen somehow, but the trouble is, if he takes the knight, I'll recapture the pawn. If he moves the rook down in preparation, then he loses the pawn. So it's interesting. So I decide I'm going to allow him to check. Well, he doesn't kind of go for it. He's still not quite sure what to do here. So I decide, well, in that case, I'm going to make a break for it with my pawn. And this required some quite delicate moving.
Check.
To make sure I was covering all the squares, because unfortunately the queening square is the wrong colour for the bishop. So first of all, we've got rid of that. Now he's going to try to do some sort of rook fork to win something or other. And again, just anchoring the bishop onto the pawn.
Check.
He checks, and
Check.
this gives me the opportunity to come up and support my pawn. I got that one there, which
Check.
I've now got the knight onto, and now here we are like this. So this is all quite nice. And again, continuing.
Check. Check.
Now he can't check me anymore. And at this point, it looks bad for me, but yeah, I just thought, yeah, but if I queen, what can he do? Those two moves, look how quick, I just let the knight go, and bingo, there's a queen. Who cares about losing a knight when you've got a queen? So it's surprising how quick you can get those last few squares covered. And now he gives a couple of checks, tries to pin this somehow, but loses this pawn, and that's where he resigns. An amazing little exciting game that was. It really was something. Obviously, regardless what he does next, there's not much he can do really. I've got all sorts of goodies I can do, starting with
Check.
sort of check here. He might try and hide.
Check.
Might try and do this.
Check.
and it's really not going to be long.
check, check,
Not much you can do, really. So there you have it. Final position again.